my good friend Jeremy Warden here to the show. Jeremy, Jeremy, welcome.
Jeremy Michael Jordan Worden. I like that. I like you teed me off great. That's the best intro I've ever had. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mike.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's that North Carolina basketball heritage you have. I see you. I see Michael Jordan.
He's my cousin, my North Carolina cousin.
Well, you guys are both on the UNC basketball team together, so that
He
helps.
did actually. We're both on the North Carolina JV basketball team. He actually played JV or the freshman team. I played junior varsity basketball at UNC. We don't need to get into that because no one knows what that is and what that means. But Michael Jordan was also on the junior varsity team before, you know, actually being on the real team. So I was technically on the same team as him at UNC.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Well, although you didn't get to the NBA, you created a beautiful piece of software called B&B Calc. So, Jeremy, he is a co-founder of B&B Calc, a software that we really like. And want to talk about a little bit today. But Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience if you don't mind?
Absolutely. So I am a short-term rental investor, like Mike. Wow, we're going to do a lot of Michael Jordan references here. Geez. Like Mike Chang, I was working in New York City. Back, I graduated school in 2019 and was working at a private equity startup in Lower Manhattan. COVID hit in March of 2020, which was like 6 months or 8 months after I graduated college. I got out of New York, went home to North Carolina. Was pretty bored and like work pretty much dried up. Things weren't looking good from like a salary bonus or any of that perspective. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna use this time and this opportunity to do something that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So I was looking for something to do, and I stumbled into the Ozarks on Netflix, where Marty Bird goes and buys a boat to launch a casino. I did not do that. I started a boat rental business. I rented out, bought a $5,600 pontoon boat and rented it out on a lake near where I grew up. And from there, people were buying lake houses and wanted to see the lake house from the water. So they got into convo and mentioned that, and I said, oh, I could help you with that, or maybe they asked me for help. I don't know. I was opportunistic, started managing houses for people, saw how much the houses were making, wanted to buy myself, was 23 years old and had no credit history, like not a lot of cash. So I couldn't get a loan. So, started trying to convince banks as well as investors to buy, and would build out spreadsheets and PowerPoints for that. And the B&B Calc ended up kind of being the culmination of building out these like powerful spreadsheets and PowerPoints.
Well, let's start there. I actually saw something on LinkedIn today that was actually really interesting. A lot of the founders of software and products for short-term rentals were originally, operators. So, tell us a bit about your portfolio today.
Absolutely. So I am an owner operator of eight. I have to count 7 or 8 properties. I don't know why I forget. I'm under contract on one currently, and then I manage another eight or so, and then I also have a couple arbitrages where I actually need to. It's on my to-dos to decide if I'm continuing the lease or not. So all in all, 19 properties at the moment, or 19 listings
Okay.
across a couple states.
So 19 listings. You have some that you manage for others. Sounds like along the lake where you have your boats. You own a few, or you own 7 or 8. It's more than a few, excuse me. And then you have a few properties that you leased and re-rent on Airbnb. Maybe we're going to talk about that. Like, how do you, before we kind of hop into the data part, how did you decide where to buy, right? People always kind of have that question. We can just start off there, because I think you started with buying, right? Or you started with managing first.
Yeah,
and then
managing, then buying, then managing, rent. Just kind of doing it all throughout. Like I didn't do only one thing and then switch to something else or anything like that. So yeah, to go back, initially I was on this lake. I was seeing firsthand how much these houses were making that I was managing. And I did the math and I was like, all right, if they're making 100K and these houses at this particular point cost 500K, there's profit there. Like that's good. So I didn't really look anywhere else initially because I just saw what I saw. So I started on the lake. From there,
How many did you buy on the lake?
4.
Oh wow, okay. You really are Marty Bird. You're the Marty Bird of that North Carolina lake.
Yeah, and I'm not all like myself or anything like that, but I don't own, I own 2 properties I actually own like only myself. So I do want to caveat with people that a lot of my properties are partnerships. So 4 on the lake, and then kind of got to the point where we essentially tapped out the lake. Like it was just like I think honestly I'd been posting too much about the pontoon boats and everything on social, and this lake had a run up in appreciation, unlike anything it had seen before. So that house that we got for, whatever, initially maybe like 400 or 500 was now probably closer to $1 million. Just like, and also a lot of people started, I think there was like 2 or 3 Airbnbs on the lake, and now there's like 100. So competition. Yeah, it went up. I actually had a guy call me today because the realtors there all give my number. Like, oh, you want to talk Airbnbs? Like, here's Jeremy's number. Like, ask him. And this guy was like, oh, can I make like 12% yield there? And I was like, I don't think I can. So if I don't think I can, I don't think you probably can. And he's like, oh, well, I'm a builder. I'm like, look, I'm not taking a shot at you. I'm just being honest. Like, yeah. It's not like, I'm not like trying to flex. I wouldn't do it myself. And I wouldn't, I don't think anyone has an edge on me. There, I'm number like 1, 2, 5, 7, 9, 10 on the lake out of 100 in terms of revenue. But yeah, so at that point, kind of looked at other places, and I think also it's just like late COVID, there was a lot of excitement in Florida. From like being a place where life was a little bit more relaxed and less stringent. So and the numbers made sense. Like you could buy again a 500K house that would make 100K.
Yeah.
Roughly. So went to Florida, bought 2 there. Then from there, I since have sold those 2 places in Florida. Went to Western NC, bought a couple there. Have sold 1 of the 2 that we bought there. We bought in Kentucky, Wisconsin.
Where's the latest one that you're under contract for, if you don't mind? What state?
It is in, I don't want to say just because I'm under contract and like I don't know. I'm having some issues with it. So
fair enough.
I don't want to talk about it until I have it,
Fair.
Given, but yeah, somewhere I have other properties. Like at this point, I don't really, if I can do something where I already have properties, I will do it. So it's in the Midwest. I'll just say it's in the Midwest somewhere.
That's all. Don't give away any secrets. No, it's something that we very
It's not even secrets. It's just I don't want someone to be like, oh, like someone else just came in and actually we're not going to extend your due diligence period due to the storm, the winter storm that just hit. I've had that happen before. So like while I'm under contract on something,
no bad vibes. Let me ask you a question though. Like that's something we definitely coach our students.
But sorry, keep going.
No, that's something we definitely coach our students on in the mentorship program is like just density. You want to buy somewhere where you can have a few that are close together. It's really hard in the beginning to build separate teams, manage separate markets. I mean, you've been doing it for 6 years now, and you're kind of leaning back into getting something that's close by to you. And so it's just hard to. It's hard to do if you have 1 property. 3 properties are all in different locations. It's a difficult set of circumstances. Was there maybe just like let's just talk about B&B Calc a little bit. So, obviously like you're buying properties and you're like, probably weren't satisfied with the data or with the tools that you had. What is B&B Calc and what's the problem that it solves?
Yeah, so initially I was 23 years old. In order to buy a house, the loans I did at the beginning were commercial loans through local banks, where it wasn't like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines. It was like Joe at, whatever savings bank or commercial bank down the road. And if he trusted and liked you, he had wherewithal to decide if they were going to lend to you or not. So I literally had to convince banks to loan to me. And the way I did that was I made PowerPoints, spreadsheets. I pulled data from 6 different places. Every time I made a report, I had to spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours making it real pretty and shooting it over to them. A report that showed the P&L projections, expected returns, comparable properties, everything like that. So I did that all manually, and it just took a long time. And I was like, I have a CS background, so I knew that it could be done. Like the tool could be built to turn what took me an hour and a half or 2 hours into 25 seconds. And that's what B&B Calc was really like that process of convincing a local commercial bank to let me get a property. Granted, it's all, I also would send to business partners. I send to homeowners if I'm going to manage their properties. I do it for myself too. Like it also sped up the time where I could underwrite a property and get a pretty good idea. And I'm not going to sit here and say our numbers are perfect, exactly right. I don't claim that. I don't think don't look at any singular data point and say this is exactly right, because it's not. That's just a fact. Anybody would tell you that. But directionally, I can like underwrite a property probably in 25 seconds with B&B Calc and get a pretty good idea of what things should look like.
What are some of the key metrics that you look at?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to obviously fill out my mortgage information. Like I want everything pre-populated with, so we have a current, like you can put in presets. So if I'm buying a house in Florida, hypothetically, I have an idea that electric's going to be $500, $600 a month because it's hot there. So I can essentially have auto presets that I can build out. Maybe you're buying a condo, you're going to have different presets for a condo than you are a mansion. So with that, put in the property's address. It should autofill bedrooms, bathrooms. Should give an estimated purchase price or pull the purchase price if it's available online, so that you can just literally put in the address, click calculate, get an idea. We populate, I think, like 50 comps currently, so you can look at the comps and see where yours stacks up. Mm-hmm. Does yours have a pool? Yes. Okay, then look at the comps with the pool. Does it not have a pool? So let's say I have 50 and I think, all right, mine's going to be like number 3. I can, kind of adjust my revenue expectations accordingly. Then now that I have this report, I can package it, send it to just with a share link, click share. Also for your people that are listening, I think would probably care about the tax savings. We have a tax calculator that was just requested by people. Admittedly, at first I was not buying for tax savings. I eventually started caring about that. It also wasn't as hyped. Like people didn't know about it, I think, when I started, or I didn't even know about it. But that's obviously a super huge aspect of your investment is the tax savings. So we put in a tax calculator there so people can get an idea.
I mean, it's much more, it's much more relevant now with the passage of the big beautiful bill, being able to utilize the short-term rental tax loophole, where if you're active, if you have an active job, like you have an active income through your job, through your business, you can offset that by buying a short-term rental and materially participating in the operations of that. So, that's something that, if you're making $400,000 or $500,000 plus a year and when also some taxes and invest in real estate, it's a really good option, right? And I think that's where tools like B&B Calc, some of your other competitors can give a really good head start. So the last thing you want to do is just buy a property based on what the realtor tells you, especially what the selling realtor tells you, even your own realtor that you hire, right? Their incentives really aren't in line in a way where they want you to buy the property. So you want another way to underwrite, analyze a property yourself, and be able to utilize like models like yourself, or that you utilize to give you a sense of what the cash flow could be. I think one problem that people really come to, one problem that people have a lot with is just where do they start, right? So you just kind of dig in that a little bit. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. It sounds like you're buying something in the Midwest. Like, why the Midwest? Or like, what data tells you that? Or how can B&B Calc and how can data kind of help you triangulate on that first market?
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to the next tool that we're working on that we haven't launched yet. So with B&B Calc initially, we have 50 comps. So you're not going to be able to gauge a market based off looking at 50 comps on a specific property. So we're actually building out a markets tool that I I think you have access to. If you don't, I'm happy to give you access. But now we'll have like all the data. So every property, everywhere, or almost every property, we'll have seasonality for different markets, occupancy projections, amenity lists. So, all right, how much more should a hot tub make you? How much more should a pool make you? Like just a really good idea of, revenue relative to, revenue relative to purchase prices in the area. We'll have so essentially all the data. So yeah, that's what I'm using currently is our markets tool that hopefully we get live soon.
Okay, cool. Well, I gotta check it out. I think you guys can be access. You and Parker can be access. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it, but
Busy man.
no, but that's important though. Like it's really important to just get a sense of the overall market so that you can go and start triangulating like where to start looking, and then on a property perspective. And what I really like about B&B Calc is it makes it really easy to put in an address and get a sense of what the property can do. Now, I think this is where folks always ask us there's what's the difference between the data tools? And I always kind of tell them that it's the one that you use. It's the one that you can best understand. And what I like about B&B Calc is it's really easy to get set up and have something pre-built for you to give you just at least a range of the potential outcomes. And I think it's just a lot better than walking in cold or just relying on a third party's assumption with zero data backing it up. It's just not a good way to invest.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, and I think maybe this kind of ties into you working with people, is that you want to reverse, there's obviously professional operators out there who they're not doing this for fun. It's not a vacation house. It's what they do for a living. They've been doing it for for me and you maybe 8 years at this point, 7 years?
9.
Me, 9, yeah, me 6. So we've been doing it for a while, and what we know now versus what we know then are not the same. So what the new B&B Calc Markets tool is also not only filter by market, filter by amenity, but actually filter by operator within a specific market. And don't go looking at Michael and finding all of his properties and say, oh, I need to buy the house next door. Just because he bought here, that means that I need to buy there. And I'm sure your Airbnb profile name might be different. Sorry, I'm not trying to.
No.
I don't know.
No, our mentorship says I bought 8 properties close to mine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not again, and you shouldn't. Nobody should go buy right next to them. They should understand why. I think that's the really important caveat: is seeing who's a pro and then reverse engineering what they're doing to be successful. And I think people go, oh, a pro bought here, so I'm just going to buy here. If you do that, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. Whereas if you're a pro bought here because, and they found a property like this and they did all these things to it, and now it's doing well. If you do that, then you're actually setting yourself up for success. Or you just work with a pro and they tell you. You don't have to go snooping with our markets tool, but you can, I guess.
But I think that's really. I think everyone, even if you hire someone to help, we have a mentorship program, we help folks. But whether you get help or not, I think it's extremely important to understand what you're buying. And we always kind of coach that with our students so they understand. You need to understand why you're buying this here. So what obviously there's every market is a different attractions and why people go there. You should understand that, right? It's a client avatar that you're serving. What's special about that property? And it doesn't always have to be in that area. If it's somewhere different, but it has the same features, it's probably going to do just as well, right? I think that's the part that people, if you're listening, you're trying to figure out what market to start in or where to start on the short-term rental journey, right? The first is figure out where what's working. If you live in by a major city like New York City, for example, okay, what around it? Where do people vacation, right? And then you look at some of the high performing listings. There's some commonalities, there are common factors that work. There's 5 or 6 common factors. You figure it out, and then when you find something that hits some, if not all, those factors, and it's probably a good property to buy, right? And then use a data tool like B&B Calc. There are others out there, and verify that theory, right? And if you can do that, then you're well on your way to buying something that's going to be profitable for you in the long run. Because like these tax benefits with this STR tax loophole, they're very powerful, but it's critical that you hold the property for a long period of time, right? It's accelerated depreciation. So if you end up selling the property, you have to pay it back. So it's necessary to hold it for a long period of time. In order to hold for a long period of time, it has to work for you. It has to at least pay the mortgage. So if you're buying something just for tax benefits and losing money for you, you're not going to hold it for a long time. It's going to be a wasted exercise. But if you can find something that hits the projections that you want, then this can be a really powerful tax saving tool and wealth building tool for yourself. And hey, Jeremy, let me ask you: like for some of the properties that you kept versus the ones you sold, what are some common factors there? Like, why did you decide to sell some and keep others?
Yeah, so I'm giving specific examples. We bought 2 in Florida that we've sold. There, it was cost. Like the cost of ownership went up. In Florida, insurance rose rapidly. And also, like, those properties weren't really defensible. So, like, what I found is that when you're buying something, you should really think of, like, why is this going to withstand the test of time? Like, what is unique about it? Where is your moat? And to be honest, when we bought in Florida, we were literally like, oh, if you buy a 4-bedroom house that's like within 10 minutes from the beach in Southeast Florida, you can make about 100K. And that was true. There was nothing like false about that. But then a lot of other people were seeing the same thing. So where we should have been is like, all right, we're going to buy a house in Southeast Florida, a 4-bed house, but also it's going to have like several distinct amenities that can't be recreated or copied. And because of that, you know, over time, the revenue will stay the same, or maybe even like have opportunity to get better. So revenue it wasn't necessarily like revenue fell off a cliff. Like that wasn't the reason. It was honestly more cost went up, and then opportunity cost, and also like, you know, partnership dynamics on that one. I think my partner is just like, you know, they didn't want to, you know, whatever. They didn't want to do it for whatever reason, and I was, you know, it is what it is. So that was like the big references or big reasons.
Who's eating lunch? I hear lunch being unpacked next to you.
Hey, Kate, can you? My wife is. He can hear your lunch.
Make sure she shares some. Make sure she shares something.
She will. I'm hungry.
All right. Well, I won't keep you. I won't keep you for lunch for too long. No, that's really helpful. Like you know, being able to the defensibility part is critical, right? I think you really highlight that point. Cost is like, what's a hard one, right? Like who could? It's hard to forecast like a big increase in insurance costs, you know. But costs do go up, so you know you got to build in your model a little bit of cost inflation as well as revenue. You know, revenue, cost inflation kind of work together, right? So if you're building a multi-year model, it's probably a good idea to bake those two assumptions in, along with appreciation, right? But what I think you highlight is really important is what's the unique about that property. If someone can build the exact same thing next to you and be exactly the same, that's a problem, right? And we have that too. Like there's 2 properties I bought in the Smokies in the beginning. They're great. I mean, they still do well actually, to be candid, given where we bought them and their rates. But I wouldn't buy them now. But there's, you know, they're pretty cookie cutter cabins. But the ones that we bought later on that were more expensive, that were like right next to Dollywood, they still crush. And you can't recreate that location, right? But you can just build a 4-bedroom cabin in the Smokies anywhere. And I think that's the issue. You know, I've seen some of your more recent properties, like the one in Kentucky. It's crazy, right? Let me talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that one has a private lake. So that one is we call a unicorn, where it's just like you can't do this. Like these just don't exist. Like you're not going to get a house with its own private lake. So that was really that. And that one, to be honest, like no, like the market in itself wasn't necessarily there wasn't that much data to say this is a good area.
Yeah.
It was more like this is just such a sick property that who wouldn't want to stay here.
How's it worked out?
It's worked out pretty well. That particular one had some year 1 capex. It happens. Year 1 stuff happens the first year, but from a revenue perspective, yeah, it's done fine.
Didn't you guys like make the lake yourselves? Did you dig it
No,
out
no,
yourself?
no.
it
It
wasn't. Okay.
existed, and I wouldn't make a lake. I have looked into it, but I wouldn't do it.
I remember you talked. I swear I thought you talked about it one time. Okay, never mind. Okay. Um, well, as we kind of wrap up the conversation, as you kind of access all this data, like, what are you seeing opportunities? Like, give us some nuggets here. Give us some
Yeah,
nugget, pearls of wisdom.
yeah. I mean, from like a location standpoint,
Like, what's working, what's not? What's working? Give me one or two things that are working, one or two things that aren't working.
yeah. I mean, I would say being close enough to population, but not necessarily being where the population is. So I think you alluded earlier, not give New York City as the reference. Like, there's not opportunity in New York City, but draw a line, 2 hours outside of New York. Don't go to the Hamptons. That's probably too expensive, but pretty much any other direction within 2 hours of New York, there's opportunity. I mean, you have a lot of population nearby, and the population is looking to get out of New York City. So be near enough to population, and we're seeing, yeah, a lot of like markets outside of major.
The girl from Genetic Counseling is calling. Are you able to just pause?
Okay, can we finish in 2 minutes just because I have my wife, we have some personal stuff we're dealing with, and I think we're hitting the time here. But yeah, be close enough to population. I'll be on in 2 minutes.
Okay. Just
Being close enough to population, and then also just like unique properties. I mean, that could mean the type of architecture of the property itself, or just outside New York and within 2 hours, there's a lot of mountain regions.
Yeah.
If you are in a mountain region but have a massive flat yard, that's unique because it's a mountain region.
Yeah,
If you're in a flat region and you have like views for miles somehow, and you're like the only one that has views for miles, then that's unique. So
Exactly.
don't just assume, oh, you're in the mountains, you need a mountain view. Oh, you're in a city, you need to be the closest to the downtown part of the city. Like, it's really, being something that there's less of is advantageous.
Got it. Got it. Hey, I know you got to hop. I know it's a busy day for you. Hey, really appreciate you doing this, and hope all goes well, and we'll have you on. The second time you've been on the show, so look forward to having you back on the next time. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate your time.
Can't wait for the trifecta. All right, thanks, Mike.
See ya. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Yeah, I'd leave it on.